Good evening and welcome to Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence. I'm Tony Rathman.
And I am Cherie.
I'm Chris Allgood.
Audra Keeler.
Ron Iacovetti, and the lovely Lourdes Gonzalez couldn't be here tonight, but she would normally be by my side.
Tonight we have a very special guest. Tonight we have Thomas Edwards from, and I want to make sure, Thomas, I get the name right. I still have it in the tagline on the bottom. It says Buffalo Niagara Paranormal Society and host of the Buffalo Niagara Paranormal Live Show, but I believe Thomas told us that it's now called Awakening Paranormal, correct?
Awakened Paranormal Research.
Awakened Paranormal. All right. And is the show called, what's the show called now?
It's
Awakened
Paranormal? Just Awakened Paranormal Live on Paranormal Warehouse.
Awesome. That's very cool. All right. So first question that we ask anybody who comes on the show. Thomas, how'd you get involved in the paranormal? Tell us about how you got started, how it happened, and how you're doing what you're doing today.
Well, it all started when I was around 7 years old. I lived in this house. It was a duplex, and I had my first experience when I was there living in the house. Me and my mom and my sister went out to dinner one night while my dad was working overnights as a police officer at the time. And we came home, and every single door, window, and light was on in the entire house. All the windows were slid open. The back sliding door, in order to lock it, it didn't have an actual lock. We put a piece of wood behind it so it couldn't slide open. And that wood was actually lifted out of the sliding glass door. So then it was wide open. And we, called the police thinking someone broke in. Nothing was out of order. There was no forced entry into the house or anything like that. We talked to the next door lady who was an older woman, and she was home the entire time and said nothing. She didn't hear anything. Nothing happened. Nothing out of the ordinary. So that was my very first experience there. Then from there, it was mind blowing at the time when I was that young.
Awesome.
But my parents, of course, never believed it. They were just like, "Well, it had to have been somebody."
It was. They were dead.
Yeah, right. Little did you know. But yeah, then ever since then, living in that house for 3 years that we were there, a lot of different experiences. There was never one night in particular that I remember that I actually slept the entire night in my bed, in my room. I always ended up either on my mom's floor or my sister's floor because something kept waking me up at around 3 a.m. every night.
Wow.
For the entire time we were there was not one night that I stayed the entire night. So, as I got older and I started seeing all the shows that started coming out, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting to me. I would really like to search and find out, what my experience is and what could have caused them. And then it kind of just grew from there to here I am now.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow. You don't still sleep on the floor, do you now? Have you been able to graduate back to the mattress?
Sometimes. Sometimes the dogs usually steals my half of the bed, so I usually end up half off, half on anyway.
That's what happened to us too. So does your sister doesn't have any experiences when you guys were?
Oh, she did. She remembers all of it too. She was she's older than me, so she's 3 years older. So she was around 10 at the time. She actually does come with my group as well a lot of times too to investigate as well. She remembers that duplex, and even she could tell you to the day that there was something weird in that place. Not sure what. It wasn't even that old of a building. It was it was built in the 40s or the 50s, so it wasn't even that old. It was just something there.
Wow. That's cool. Plus you had experiences when you were young. I don't have any recollection of anything happening maybe a couple, but I just missed
the dog.
Them. Yeah, the dog. I wasn't real young then. And then I remember one of the first houses I rented, there was footsteps above it. But most of my stuff happened
when you were in college.
A couple, but most of them.
Jeff.
Yeah, a couple with Jeff.
Yeah.
And most of them happened when I met you.
Huh.
I'm gonna let that go.
Okay.
I'm not touching that one.
I shouldn't have either. Trust me, I shouldn't have either.
Usually your guy friends help you get in trouble. You're doing well on your own, Tony.
Yeah, I like to succeed at whatever I try. All right,
Thomas. At what age were you able to reconcile what actually happened and start looking at it? Obviously you're very young, so I don't know how old you were when you started investigating. But maybe a better question is, when you started investigating, did you look at those things with a different set of eyes than you remember it from when it actually happened?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started out, I've been probably investigating now roughly 10 years now. So I was in my early 20s when I really started to get into it. And, at first it started off like, oh, this, I just want to see some crazy stuff happening. Like, oh, I want to see some ghosts come running at me. But, as time went on, it kind of switched to more of a research type based investigation style, where I really want to know exactly what's happening and what's causing all this, activity that we encounter. So it turned into more of like the research part of it, where, we're really delving into like histories of buildings and things like that, and trying different things maybe that aren't really out of the normal, for the most part, which is one of the shows I'm on that we do as well. That's on VidiSpace. We really look into like alternate theories on hauntings and things like that, and we kind of dive into that. So I'm glad I was actually able to do that, because that's kind of where I'm more focused now.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it took a turn. Like, at first when I was 20 years old, I was like, oh, let's go see some ghosts. But which and it's funny because I started off doing it all on my own by myself, which I always tell people now. Like, they always ask me, like, what's your one piece of advice for people that want to start investigating paranormal? I say, don't do it on your own. I went into some unsavory locations alone, which was very bad.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably one of the first advice that I'd give is don't do it alone. I mean, I know a lot of people think, oh, nothing's going to happen, but let me tell you, you get into a wrong situation, you're going to be sorry you made that choice. But glad to hear nothing bad happened. So that's
close calls a couple times, but I'm still here.
There you go.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am going to play one of Thomas's, as soon as I get to the right screen here. There we go. Okay. The first one the first one I'm gonna play is, hold on, I didn't label these. Okay, I believe this is it, and it's the one labeled Hinsdale, the Kitchen. This is an EVP, correct, Thomas?
Yes, okay. It is.
All right. Anything any kind of background you want to give on this before I play it?
All I'll say right before we played is that there were no children at the house when this happened.
Nor should there ever be.
Yep.
Yeah, and clearly this is the Hinsdale house, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. For our audience then, here is that EVP. Maybe.
Maybe, baby.
Why does it do that?
Communicate with us again and just talk into the red light? Could be. Yeah.
Okay, that clearly could hear that child. Let me play that one more time for the audience because it comes up really quick. So here it is again.
Communicate with us again and just talk into the red light? Could be. Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
I heard that one.
Yeah, you can clearly hear a child's voice, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
What
do you think they're saying?
What do I think they're saying?
Yeah.
So to me, we got what I believe it says is the kitchen. And it makes sense when we were there because at the time we got this EVP, we were upstairs. on the second floor, and you hear one of us say, "Can you talk into the red light?"
Right.
Well, what's interesting about it is we had a red light on the recorder in our hand, but we also had red lights that were down in the kitchen on other devices. So it was almost like, to me, asking like the ones in the kitchen, almost like a question,
Which
like,
red light? The
which
kitchen?
red light?
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. And yes, I could hear that too. I was just curious to get your opinion too on what you were hearing. But since it's in the title, I guess that makes perfect sense, huh?
Yeah. It has tone too. It has vocal tone, which is always really cool when it has some kind of tone and it's outside of the scope of what's just whispery.
Yeah, like I said, there were no children with us in the house at all. But if everybody, knows some of the history on Hinsdale, there is a story of a boy that got killed relatively close to the property by a old logging saw, and it broke off and hit him in the head and killed him. So could it have been that child trying to communicate? It's not the first time we've heard a child's voice either. So
It's possible.
Yeah.
That place has a lot of reported activity too, with what people believe might be elementals. Right, the ground has a lot of history to it. There's our friend, the psychic housewife from New Jersey, April Tricoli Bissett, had said she had communicated with an entity that was outside the property that wouldn't come onto it or wouldn't come in. There's a lot of layers there at that house.
yeah, so and especially with not coming into the house, it was actually we've experienced before as well, which we believe, well, some of us believe, I should say, that it may be the Native American spirits that don't want to come into the house, which makes sense.
Yeah,
that does make sense.
Yeah, it's an active spot.
All right, so the next one that I'm going to play is this is titled Shadow Clip. And Thomas, you want to give some background on it?
Why
So-
are you guys laughing?
Do you guys have you seen the show Destination Fear?
Yes.
Oh yes, of course.
So if you watched the other days, Saturdays, they visited, before they went to Rolling Hills, they visited the GLF silos in Buffalo.
Yes, they did.
Yep.
This clip is from those silos. Me and Dan and Kat, which is my girlfriend and a member of our team, were tasked with going there and actually scouting the location for them for Destination Fear.
Okay.
So that's where this clip comes from, and it is so quick on there too. And I only caught it because for some, I can't even explain why I slowed down this particular area in the footage, because I was recording on my camera for a while. Something just told me to slow that down, and I happened to catch just a quick glimpse of it through the one pillar there.
Awesome.
All right, here that clip comes. Okay, let's watch that again, because like you said, it's really fast. I see what you're looking at, but let's play that again.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
That's
yes,
phenomenal.
I see that one.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Not sure if that was an arm being pulled up or tentacle or what that was.
It's cracking.
Well, it had an unusual kind of shape to it, but
It did.
yeah, very, very interesting. The other thing I noticed is if you watch very closely, there is something in the crack of the door or whatever that is that moves back and away. Did you catch that as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So the interesting, so that area, what you see between in that empty space is between two pillars. And what's interesting about it is we narrowed it down. After I saw it and I caught it, we went back there to try to recreate it to make sure it wasn't like one of our shadows or something. But if you watch, like no one's shadow, especially mine, isn't casted anywhere in there. You
Right.
don't see my shadow on the wall. You don't see it on the ground. It was nothing. My shadow was actually casted behind me. So when I panned it, there was no shadow until I looked back and I saw it moving right between that pillar. And it's actually almost looking like it starts at the end to move the opposite way as well.
Right. Let me play that one more time.
Yes, please.
Now, if you guys look really close, there's some facial structure there.
Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah,
know what?
I noticed
I wonder
that
if
too.
I don't know if I even have control over it when it's in StreamYard. Let me see if I can pause it. Actually, let me do
There's
this.
more detail when it's the quicker motion than the slow.
Yes.
Right.
I agree with Audra
Correct.
100%.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have an evidence, you zoom in on a picture, and then you almost lose what's there.
Yep.
Like in its original form, it's you can see it. It's like wow.
It's,
And when
it's almost like a lady's like face.
Yep.
You can see the head figure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm with Audra 100% on that one. That's what I felt too.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, here comes one more time.
That's pretty
That's an
cool.
amazing catch. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is really, really cool.
And if
Yeah,
and
that
if
was.
you're watching that didn't watch Destination Fear, the history behind this is this was the very first grain silo in the United States in Buffalo. And
Yes.
they didn't. So if you look at grain silos nowadays, they're fed from the top by a big armed tube, and it's a vacuum system. Back then, they would actually have to elevator up the grain, and guys would shovel the grain into these giant silos, and then they had 16 or more deaths where guys fell in and literally drowned in the grain
Yeah.
because they couldn't get them out because of how deep the grain was. Can you
And
imagine?
it could be even more that those are just the ones that we've read about.
Right.
It could be
Yeah,
even
right.
more. And the
Too
worst
much
thing,
fiber is not good for you.
right? And the worst thing about it is like they would just walk outside and grab someone else to work because there were lines of people wanting work at the time because this was early 1900s.
Yeah.
And they would just walk outside and go, okay, you're next. Come on out and work.
That's so,
So-
crazy.
That's amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was. Then those silos in general, just some of the EVPs that we caught as well. We've actually caught women EVPs there. So female voices have come through, and everyone always asks, well, why would there be females in a grain silo at that time? At that turn of the century time, and mainly, my thought is World War I and World War II. Most of the men got shipped off.
Yep.
They needed to continue production. That silo was actually like the #1 grain producing silo for the whole entire Midwest. It used to fill 100 rail cars a day, and it holds
Wow.
156,000 pounds of grain a day. So
That's a lot.
it needed to continue, so they would bring women and children in. So
True.
Makes
Yep,
sense.
yep,
Makes
yep.
sense.
Pretty awesome.
Oh.
All right. The next one I'm gonna play, and this one's, if I remember, yeah, this one's really cool. This is another, actually more than one shadow figure capture, and I believe this is Hinsdale House, right? Or is this?
yes.
Yes. This is a great clip. I probably watched this 30 times when I first saw it.
Yeah.
Because the activity happens in different places and around a particular individual as well. But this is a very interesting clip. So anything else you want to add, Thomas, before I play it?
No, other than that we were all asleep at the time.
Yeah.
This was a static camera setup on our DVR system, and it was rolling while we were sleeping, and we were all in the living room sleeping. You could only see one of the couches. We were to the left on another couch that is off camera, so we were all asleep.
All right.
Let's see it.
Well, here comes that clip now.
We actually ended up finding 3 instances of a black shadow-like figure moving around Brad, and at one point even coming out of Brad.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That is
I got
phenomenal.
chills over there. Seems like the shadow figure is moving around.
Well, it kind of looked like it was poking his head up, and that was pretty cool.
Well, and the phenomenal part about that piece is that when a regular shadow, so if it was somebody moving to the other side of the room, casting a shadow around him, you would see it move in gradually, or you would see it come in from a different direction. That forms like that.
Yeah, and like
right
crawls
on
up
top
over
of
the
him.
couch. Just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
and we
Go ahead,
attempted we attempted multiple times after we saw this to go back and try to recreate it in a way that, like, if because I was sleeping on the other couch, that is an old member of ours, Brad, who the shadow figure came out of, and we tried like waving our hands in the air with the DVR set up at the same exact angle and everything, and never casted that type of shadow type of, like, you could tell it was an arm, like you could tell, oh, that's my arm raising up. This I cannot explain it to this day, other than that it is some type of shadow. At the time when I was reviewing the DVR footage and I caught it, I hadn't told Brad about it yet, and he had messaged me like a couple days later, and he wanted to tell me about this weird dream he had while he was sleeping at Hinsdale. And he had mentioned how it felt like someone was like hugging him while he slept, and like as a protection type of hug, like, someone was trying to protect him. And then I'm showing him these shadows coming out of him, and it kind of coincided together.
I just put up a post that Anthony posted, and he said, "Could that be the ghost cat at the Hinsdale?" And I'm gonna play that one more time,
I was gonna
just
ask.
because when I didn't know there was a ghost cat at Hinsdale.
Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Well, what's amazing before you play that, Tony, is Thomas said that he felt like something was hugging him. If you look down towards his hip area, something moves in that area too, as the shadow's moving up here. So it almost looks like there's 2 entities in that video. And anybody of us watching too, there is no pixelation in that video whatsoever. So that's not a lens flare. That's not anything like that. That is a solid capture.
Yeah, and Tony, in the beginning of the show when we talked, because that was the piece of evidence that I was really astounded by when I saw it. So when I mentioned that I had a similar kind of experience, we got what looked like a cat or some kind of an animal. We were up with a group. It was 5 of us. It was a group called Unseen Paranormal, and they were doing a pan just around that room. And when she went past the door that goes back towards the kitchen, you see this animal-like, but the edges was very soft. It didn't look physical, but it was like a black mass, and it had a tail, and it like slithers around the corner. And if you didn't catch it in the moment, you would never know. When they went back the second time when I wasn't able to go, and they tried to recreate something spinning fast, panning, and they could not recreate it. But yeah, it's got that same cat profile. It's a very dark, shadowy mass, and it literally slides around the corner. It's on YouTube. I'll send it to you. I saw that, and I was like, wow, that's nuts.
Well, that's one of the things too I noticed about this is that it's a solid dark mass. I mean, at times it flickers and breaks up, but darker than what I've normally seen on shadow figures. And so a cat could be a very plausible explanation. Let's play it again. Here it comes.
We actually ended up finding 3 instances of a black shadow-like figure moving around Brad, and at one point even coming out of Brad.
Okay, I gotta tell you,
Amazing.
I see cat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it one more time, but watch when what looks like something floats out of him. Look at it as if it was a cat that jumped up on the back of the couch, and you can actually see its tail whip around. So one more time.
Cats do that.
We actually ended up finding 3 instances of a black shadow-like figure moving around Brad, and at one point even coming out of Brad.
I see cat.
What's interesting too is, and I'd have to find the clip. I do have a clip somewhere in my external hard drive of an actual cat apparition walking towards a camera. So it isn't the first time I've had a cat.
And that's the same room. That's the same room that we got it in. Also, the doorway we're looking through to the frame right next to the stairwell. That's the corner it slithered around. Was that same room?
Oh, see ya.
Yeah, that I wasn't aware of the reputation of the cat being in that house, but having watched it and then having Anthony say that, man, it totally looks like a cat to me.
That's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Also identified by Matt Haas of Island Paranormal Society watching tonight too. He also said definitely a cat. He caught a cat at his home security camera when he was out, and it's going past the urn where his previous cat that passed away, where the ashes are. And if you freeze frame it only, you see like the tail and the stuff. It's fascinating to see the entities that are, of animals and not just of people. So this is,
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. And
it's amazing.
Yeah, when I was thinking about what I saw when it kind of came out of him and went up, I'm like, I remember seeing a tail, and sure enough, you can big fluffy tail too.
And Thomas,
awesome.
you would know better than us too, right? That room isn't that room where there was an exorcism that temporarily held and then it failed?
Yes. Yep. That is the living room where it was held in the 70s with the Dandy family.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty cool. We should go there, baby.
Yeah, we haven't been there yet. We're gonna have to check it
Apparently,
out.
they already been there, and the only thing is just you and I. We should visit. Hey, Chris, Aldred, you guys want to go?
Yeah, we've not been.
I'll let you guys in for the night.
I would love to feel the energy in that place.
I'm disappointed that Lourdes isn't here tonight because she got affected in 2 places ever, and that was one of them. The short version of the story was she heard something we thought, and she turned, and we noticed it, and we asked her a couple times, "Did you hear it?" And I didn't hear anything, but you turned, and she was like, "I didn't move," and we're like, "Whoa, all right." Never mind.
Yeah, I saw a full body apparition the first time I ever went there. I was with a couple friends, and I was sitting on the couch, and my friend was standing in front of me, and he had a pendulum going, and he was trying to communicate with the pendulum. And I saw, and I can describe her down to a T. She had a white dress on. She had long blonde hair. She was probably middle-aged woman. She walked behind my friend. As she walked behind him, she looked directly at me, and her eyes were pitch black holes. And then she was gone.
Wow.
Holy
Yeah,
God.
it stuck with me for 4 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Wow.
place is crazy.
Okay.
We have like 4 or 5 of us sleeping in the same living room. If people might not know too, there's a hole in the ceiling in that room, which is, I guess, what back in the day for the air, right, for the heat to rise up into the upper bedroom.
Yep.
So we're all sleeping on cots, and somebody left the camera running, and you hear 2 people, sounds like men, softly talking. I was the only man there. There was 4 women and me. We're all sleeping, but the camera caught a conversation coming from upstairs.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, you can hear a lot of voices just randomly if you just sit there and be quiet, you can hear entire conversations with people that aren't there.
Yeah, that's a money's worth location, that place.
Yep.
It really is.
Yep. And Dan's done a lot for the upkeep of it. The pond's there. There's a lot of activity at the pond too. We focused our entire show Behind the Shadows for Vidi Space on just the outside of the property. Now, we didn't even touch the inside of it for that show. and we had so much activity just on the outside alone because of all the history there.
Yeah,
Wow.
Dan's done a lot for the paranormal field. He's done a lot for that place. He treats you well when you go in there. That's a great experience. I recommend it to anybody if it's on your bucket list. Keep it on your bucket list.
100%.
Yeah, it's on ours for sure.
Anthony spent his
50,
birth-
yeah, Anthony, 55th birthday there.
Oh wow!
How cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna have my 50th birthday over there.
That's like in 2 weeks.
I know, right?
All right, we gotta get moved quick then.
Yeah.
Now I know what coworker you were talking about. Your previous job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
because
we-
he texted us when we were at the Bel Air house.
right.
Yeah,
he's-
okay, I remember. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so Thomas has. Is that a pat or are you choking me?
Yeah.
I think she's laughing because it took her 32 minutes to catch it.
Better than other times. Days later, I'll be like, "Oh, got it."
And for those of you watching, pay really close attention to Tony. Every time he goes to read the screen, he does this.
No, it looks like that because the computer that's running the show is off the screen over here. So when not only do I have to lean like this screen in front of me, I can see just fine. But when I go to the screen over here, I have to put the glasses on, and then just to reach the keyboard, I have to do that. So as funny as it may look,
to reach the keyboard.
all of our other the house is half packed. We have boxes everywhere. So I'd
Lucky we have this.
be lucky this
backup.
is still up and running.
Yeah,
All right,
same here.
We
Another clip.
understand completely.
Josie Haas put in the comments, "Possessed Loki." Yeah, Lourdes' nickname is Loki. She, people who knew her were very surprised when she kind of snapped during that EVP session. We call it Hinsdale Lourdes, and ever since then, we bring snacks to appease her. I have witnesses.
We love you, Loki.
Too
Oh
funny.
my gosh. I hope she's watching.
She probably
She's not. She will. She'll hear it. She'll see it, and
Yeah.
she'll know we were thinking about her and miss her on the show tonight. But totally understand. We're in the same boat, moving and packing, and Sheree is like literally pressed up against boxes.
There's so
up
many
against the
boxes
wall
in
here.
front of me.
Nobody can see it, but they're like right here in front of her.
Yeah, Lourdes is a trooper too. She wants to go back there. That place is one of the places she got affected and spooked her. And she's like, "When can we go back?" She's like, she went upstairs to put a REM pod down. We were like, "All right, we're all going to stick together." She goes upstairs to put a REM pod in the room by herself, and she comes running down with the REM pod. And what happened? She felt something coming towards her, like it rushed right through her, and she freaked out and she came downstairs. And that's not a common thing for. Yeah, that place got to her, but.
Wow.
You know, these are part of what we do. And when you have the experience, they're going to vary. And again, that place does not disappoint.
No, and that place, it calls to people too. So especially for a bunch, like all three of us in my group, Kat, Nate, and myself have all had dreams about the place where it has actually come into our dreams. And I remember the one very vividly that I was up in Mary's room, which is the room with all the flies that everyone knows about. So in my dream, I'm in the room and I'm watching all these flies buzz around and everything. And then like one by one, they start dying and they fall into the ground. When I look at the ground, they literally spelled out, "Come back."
Oh,
Wow.
You know, yeah. And it's like, I've had other people too that have come and said, like, I've had similar dreams to that. So it's like the house wants you to come back.
Oh, wow.
And for what reason? Who knows? But
Wow. So in the dream, hold on, I just want to make sure I heard this right. So in the dream, the flies that died spelled "come back." That didn't really happen, right? That was a dream.
No, it was in the dream. Which
Okay.
I don't remember
Still,
my
though.
dreams ever. Hinsdale's the only dreams I ever remember.
Wow.
It's super
Amazing.
weird.
Yeah, that's but that's a lot of times the way that spirits will communicate is using dreams and the messages that they send. You know, there's tons of evidence and tons of people who say the same thing, that communication will come in various dream forms, and even psychics and mediums will say the same thing, that through dreams is a big portal for communication, and very well have been what was going on, that you were being coaxed back through the dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the early direct radio voice people, we do DRV work, research, as you did. We took a turn to the research side. George Meek, one of the people involved with the early Spiritcom model in the 80s, he says that he believes that there's, and I guess other people have tested against, that there's interplaning where our astral self is co-inhabiting in both the astral realm, and we have a presence here. And that's why when we dream, a lot of times we could actually be traveling astrally and not realize it. And you're tethered by what's called the silver cord. That's what brings you back. And oftentimes, if you have that rush of like soaring until you get back into your body and wake up real fast, that's what that is. You're being literally like yanked back. So if you look at it in that perspective, and then Thomas has clearly a connection with the place, that could be a way that they're communicating with him, is because he's got a presence in both astral and the material world, and that aspect of him is accessible.
It's a good point.
I agree 100%. Yep. That's
Well, and to talk about what Ron just talked about too, the silver cord that yanks you back. They've also related that to people that dream of falling in your sleep, and you wake up before you hit bottom. They're actually saying that that's the silver cord that yanks you back. And some people, their energy is so strong, it almost works like a bungee cord. You snap back so fast, you dream that you're following, and you're not really. It's your astral projected body is getting pulled back so fast. It just, that sensation makes you feel like you're falling, and the reason you wake up is you've landed, basically.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We did an experiment once with astral projection with a friend of ours who's a medium, and we were at this location that she had never gone to, and she didn't come with us. And we were on a call with her, and we let her go into like her meditation dream state. We were actually able to hear her voice say a predetermined word through a spirit box while she was in this meditative state, and she was actually able to describe the room to us. And she had never been there or seen anything about it.
Yeah, see? And that's the stuff you present to people who have an agenda that they don't believe this stuff is real, and they go, nah, I don't get it. That's phenomenal. They've done studies like that too. Dr. Charles Tart out in UC Berkeley did something where he had somebody astral projected, traveled out, and they read something off of a card that he had elevated on a shelf in the room where there's no way to have known it. She was strapped down in a sleep state in this room. It was completely controlled.
I remember that.
Similar to that. Yeah, you don't just do that.
Right.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember in college, that was the one area that I did, and half the books are what we were unpacking in the garage the other day, but they're all in there. But there was a author, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but 50-70% of his books was all about astral projection and how he learned to do it. And I got to go look at the titles again. I don't remember. I remember reading them, but there was some really interesting stuff in there. So to have both, and you guys talked about that, and Chris, I remember that being in there as well. The snap back of the cord giving you that falling feeling, and then of course you
scared me there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, but that's what you jerk awake out of your sleep and sit up and be like, okay, what happened? But Chris, you nailed that. I remember reading that. Oh my God, 30 years ago. But all right, I want to play another one of Thomas's clips. So let's see what we've got next. Okay, this one's interesting. I shortened this one, Thomas, because it was like almost 10 minutes long.
Was it the door?
Yeah, it was the door. And I'm like, okay.
So even that was 10 minutes long, and I had even sped up the video. But I did it for a reason, though, to show you that whole entire length of time, that door never budged.
Okay, well, that was good to monitor that before, because I cut that all out. I think it's like 15 seconds now.
That's but you don't want to watch 10 minutes of a door not moving?
Well, I'm thinking, okay, are they gonna and you guys did test it. You guys did push on it to see if it moved. You did you know, shut it again and see if it did anything, and then kind of tapped it. Yeah,
it was a heavy door.
Right, definitely checking out to see if it was something that could be explained, and they never could. So here is the quick section of that clip.
Huh. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a heavy door too. So the parts of the video that cut off are actually me and another member going back and playing with the door for a few minutes trying to figure it out. We tried it multiple times throughout the night. That was the only one time it ever opened on its own. It was that one time.
I've watched that probably, man, I don't even know how many times. But
all day.
What I was trying to figure out was, does that door both swing open like this, or does it slide?
It opens.
It opens. So
Okay.
they both open out. They only open one way though. They're not like swinging doors.
So they're not like reversed hinged.
You can do it. There's something on the floor. So this was at a location called in Batavia, New York, called the Seymour Club, which is an old gentleman's club that used to also be a bank way back in the 1800s. There's actual like a thing on the floor that you can switch, and the door can go either way. But if that is up, it stops at that point. So you will see, like in the video, you'll see us go through it both ways. That we can hit the thing on the floor and go both ways.
Okay. I was just curious because at one point it almost looked like it slid into the wall. Let me play it again. Here it comes. No, it's just opening. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's pushing out. I was looking at the marks on the door, and it got smaller. And it's because it's coming, it's turning, not receding into the wall.
It's kind of like the one that we capture at the Hotel San Carlos at the penthouse.
Oh,
remember that door opens the same
and then
thing.
Slammed.
Yep.
I do.
It's
remember.
fascinating because we sat through the whole thing. We watched the full length of the clip with the 10 minutes, and it doesn't do it on and off. It doesn't coincide with anything else. There's no noise that maybe somebody could have done it. It's just a standalone moment. And the fact that you validate that the door is heavy makes it even more impressive that something had the kinetic energy to even move it as much as it did. The historical significance, by the way, too, I think was important to point out. He said that the place was a gentleman's club and a bank. So the message there is that either way, they're getting all of your money.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
exactly.
It would have to be a bank.
That's a great point.
It was a new location too that not many people had come to. We were the second team that had gone into the place too to investigate it. And I mean, we got some more evidence just besides that. But I think that was, well, there's one other clip that I gave you too that was in the same building, just on the second floor.
That would be the shirt moving, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was another piece from that. It was the same night as that too. So we had both those things happen on the same night, the one time we visited. So
I want to point something out about the door. So not only is that door heavy, but if that is a double hinge door, so I'm a window and door guy, right?
Yep.
So if that's a double hinge door and that thing with the bottom pin pulled down can swing both directions, that hinge, not only being an old hinge, but it is spring activated to pull against it. So for that door to stand open like that, something was physically holding it open, because that door will naturally, by the spring hinges that are on that door, will naturally pull back. So not only but something was holding it open at the same time.
That's a brilliant point, because you know what, we often, and most people watch, that's a great learning experience moment right there, Chris. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
People look at this kind of a thing and think of the kinetic energy, like I said, right, as moving the object, moving the door. Nobody thinks about the possibility, except you, of course, of a sustained kinetic energy, because if it had the ability or the propensity to move back and it didn't, that means there was something sustained kinetic.
Right.
It was. That's even more
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah.
That was excellent, Chris, because I definitely would not have known that there were springs to pull it back. I wouldn't have known.
I
that.
hadn't thought of that either. Only you. You, Chris, you.
But yeah, I mean, and that door didn't really. So it's inside too. So and it was. I remember correctly when we were there. It was the colder time, so no windows or anything were open in the place or anything like that, and there were no cross breezes or anything like that. We made sure of that too, because there are two holes you see in the door. They're open like windows, so you can put your hand through them. So we made sure you know when you see us play with the doors, we did check that as well to make sure there wasn't a breeze that could have come through those holes and push. There was no breeze or anything. The doors go into a kitchen, and
So ironically enough, another fact about those doors is the reason those circle holes are there is because that's where waiters go in and out.
Yep.
They can see somebody coming on the opposite side. That's what those little circle windows are for on those doors.
yep.
Not short waiters.
Well, you can see him jumping up if you look long. You know.
He just walks by with his hand up. Hey, this is me.
All you can see is the top of Ron's EVP hat.
That
There it is.
I keep it here just in case. I love the fact that I know that you said your work turned more research oriented too, but when you do investigations, I clearly that has colored the perspective and the approach that you take probably more than just if you were just investigating, because the research aspect of it, you're looking to vet things more. You're looking to really test against whatever theories you have going on, which is by definition the scientific way to do it. I love that. I love that because I think that this probably also swayed you towards research more as you learn early on when you start showing this to people who aren't party to what you do, and they go, nah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Could have been the Keebler elves, could have been, maybe they ran, no, but they don't buy into it. So you realize that the research and what you can really prove to make a difference within the field, that's where the passion is really fueled more than, hey, look what I got, to the general public. And so the approach that you seem to take with all this stuff is just is brilliant. And that's what I love about being on this show, is because that stuff is not only Class A quality evidence, but it's being tested and evaluated and examined with Class A level people and an approach. And that's important, because what we do is for the community we're in.
Yeah. And
excellent point.
I made sure always now to record myself when we try to debunk things too, so people can actually see it. So when I catch something great, I can say, hey, this is, we tried all this stuff to try to recreate it, So I do usually have that evidence too that I can show someone no, this is what we did. It wasn't someone's shadow. It wasn't our shadow. It just doesn't work that way, and things like that. So that way people know, well, we went through the process.
Yeah, right. You have to hold yourself to a standard that because even at the best quality work that any of us can do, there's going to be somebody who's not going to buy into it because they weren't there, because it doesn't fit with their paradigm, whatever it is. So you hold yourself to a standard of excellence, and that's clearly what you do.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. All right, now let's move to the shirt one, because I like this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So same location, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And just a different time during the night?
Yeah, that was just later on in the night when we had gone to the second floor.
Awesome.
All right. Here, this one's short, if I remember. It's real quick, but
yeah.
I'll play it more than once. Here it comes.
Mm-hmm. That was very short.
Definite, though.
That was quick. That's why I prefaced it with, this is very short and quick.
Okay.
All right, here it comes again. It's going to be the same length.
Can we slow it down?
No, I don't have the ability.
If it helps, it's the gentleman on the right.
Okay, good point. It's the back of his shirt.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Here it comes.
Oh,
So
okay.
You didn't see it,
I
did you?
did. The guy,
The old
the
stripper
gentleman
trying to take the shirt right off his back.
behind him.
Right. Okay. What,
Do one more time,
one more
please.
time. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. One more time. Ready?
Sure.
It's quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It
So-
definitely looks like
Oh my
looks
gosh.
like something might have
Tag.
pulled on
Yeah.
Did he
back
feel
of
it
the
at the
shirt.
time, or did that get discovered in evidence review, or did at the time did he go,
He felt it. He was like, "Oh, I think something just grabbed the back of my shirt and pulled." And I was like, then I looked at it. I was like, "Oh, we have that camera rolling." I was like, "We got to go check this out." So, when we went back and looked, and you can clearly see like something like pulls his shirt out, because you can see at first it has a wrinkle in it, like
Right.
it was bunched up, and then it just straightens out. It looks like it's on its own. And he wasn't really moving. We were just kind of standing there, because one of the claims in that area that we were standing in was that there was a tall shadow figure with a top hat that used to walk back and forth in there, and he used to mess with the people that were there. So then we're in that area and we catch his shirt being pulled on.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That
That
is
was
crazy.
yeah. That was pretty cool. Pretty
That's
cool.
a
that's
good
very-
reason always. When you do investigate, you always make sure you have a camera. That's why you guys don't see me on all our videos, because I'm the one. I always make sure I take video or any
recording
Yeah,
or
'cause-
both.
right.
And yeah, I wouldn't have half the captures I have if she hadn't been running those things. That's
Yeah.
true.
It's
The
a good,
two things you want to have on an investigation to make sure you can vet anything like that is a camera running and Chris
Yes.
Hall. Those are the two things that you got to have. But that's true, though. That's true. I was with a team that had this beautiful EVP, and they kept showing it and sharing it, and then somebody came forth from the group that had video running, and they realized it was a person.
Oh,
And it wasn't actually a catch. And so that's a way that, just like all the gear, right? The EMF readings, you're using stuff to corroborate evidence. If something kinetic happens and the temperature drop at the same time, yada yada, you have a preponderance of evidence to support something, not just a one-off. So
right.
Right.
And
That's extremely important in any investigation. We were talking about that the other night, about how if you're
on a camera.
for cameras and
Yeah.
for EVPs to triangulate the recorders to maybe be able to tell you if it is possible to determine what location it came from, if one's louder. But I mean, EVPs are tricky to begin with, though, because sometimes you can put 4 recorders next to each other a foot apart and they only have it show up on one. But you're always looking for those additional steps to be able to verify what I captured, how I captured it, and any other information you can get to help you determine what it was, where it came from, and either be able to identify it as something, common or paranormal. And that's always what you're looking for.
So I have a question for Tony. So why are you always upset with me whenever I video record you?
Because it's usually at the worst time.
Worst time is
you always catch good stuff, so I'll give you a break.
Okay.
Like the time Tony farted on Chris in the basement of the hospital.
Yeah, well,
I had that video too.
Mexican food before an investigation is a no.
number 2. Don't eat Mexican food before an investigation.
Don't do it. I'm telling you, don't do it.
we've all done it, right? We've all done it.
Before. Yeah.
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 Usually for me, it's anything hot, like spicy. It's always a bad time.
My gosh, I wish I could post all those bloopers, those videos of Chris and Audra and Tony.
Well, someday we'll put up a bloopers reel. You know what? No. One of these nights when we don't have a guest, we'll do a bloopers reel.
Yeah, when Tony farted and then Chris, you were behind Tony.
All right, on to the next clip. We got clips left, and we're running out of time. So on to the next clip. All right. So now it looks like we have. Not that I'm trying to change the subject.
I know you would.
We have an EVP that you captured in the silo. Is there any background you want to give on this?
Oh no, I gotta remember which one this was. Oh, but
Play it first, and then we can talk.
Yeah. Let's play it first.
Okay.
I think I remember what it is, but yeah, refresh my memory.
Okay, here it comes.
And if you guys have any questions too, just go ahead. And usually, if we wait a few seconds in between questions, answer.
Oh yes. So yeah, that was in the GLF silos. That the voice you hear is actually one of my investigators, Nate. We were doing an EVP session with a tour group there. So it was a small group because it was one of the first ones we did as like a demo to try to see if they would be worth it to do. And yeah, to me it sounds like someone saying don't. That's what I got out of it. It sounds like they're saying don't to Nate, saying, if anyone wants to ask a question, feel free. And then I hear him say don't. That's what I get.
There's something at the end of it, the very end as well. And it is like 2 sentences. But let's play that one again. I hear the don't that you're talking about. And I heard that when we first played it, but here it is again.
And if you guys have any questions too, just go ahead. And usually, if we wait a few seconds in between questions, answer.
It's
I
amazing.
don't want you to.
Well, what was that, Audra?
Don't want you to. Don't want you to.
Don't want you
Okay.
to?
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
you hear more than I did then, yes.
Yeah. It's
Nice.
it's a male voice.
Oh, you can
Yeah,
hear that.
it is.
That's the ones I catch.
Hey,
Tony,
Tony,
argue with me.
yes, we have to, and that's perfect transition because we have to touch on this for at least a second. He mentioned that his girlfriend's part of the team. My girlfriend's not here, but she usually is. We're all couples. He goes as a couple. So go ahead. I think Cherie should ask the question. Do you have this?
Yeah.
No,
you know the question. All right. So if she can't remember, okay, you know the question?
You go ahead.
No, you ask.
So, your girlfriend, your girlfriend and you investigate together, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So, do you guys argue about who's
Evidence.
right or wrong with
When
the
listening to EVPs.
EVPs?
Right.
Can I plead the fifth on that one?
Is your girlfriend around?
Yeah,
Bring her in.
The only reason we ask,
Over
Thomas,
It's 'cause-
the only reason we ask is because we know the answer, because all 6 of us had this discussion. Well, basically anytime we have boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife, that question comes up every time because we all fight.
Yeah, we have to,
Yeah.
because sometimes, you guys always.
Judging by the look on his
Think-
face, that's a yes. They do fight. I can tell that's a yes.
I agree. I
And-
agree with
and who
Tony.
wins?
I don't like to call them fights. I like to call them little squabbles.
Argue or argue.
I don't like to call them fights either, but let's face it, they are.
My co-squabbler, Lourdes Gonzalez, is a court reporter by trade, so she hears stuff that is like dog hearing level. It's like, how did you even what? And then oftentimes she's right. I'm like, how did you even fish that out of the noise? I don't.
See, you accepted it, Ron. She always right.
Show the syllable chart, because that's where we're headed.
Yeah. So what happens is that we hear "I'm here" 2
Right.
strike, and then she hears "I'm here and coming tomorrow, and I'll be here the next day." Like what?
That's exactly what she does.
She 100% catches so much more than I do in the voices that come through the EVPs. We caught an EVP a week or 2 ago at Lafayette Hotel, which is another place we run tours out of, and none of us, me and Nate, didn't hear a thing on it. She's halfway across the room, down the hall, and hearing exactly when she comes running in, and she's like, "That says this and this and this." And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, I didn't hear anything. But sure enough, there was an EVP in there. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it happens.
And the
No,
winner is woohoo, women.
You do have
I
better
think
hearing.
We have one more. We have one more evidence clip to play. And this one is an EVP from Wildwood.
God,
Oh,
that place
yes.
is awesome.
So let me go ahead and play this, and then we will talk about it. Here it comes.
Can you see how many fingers I'm holding up? See how many fingers I'm holding up now?
That was a good one.
That was unbelievable. That it's got tone. That's female, maybe even a younger female.
And it's a full sentence.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, you
Yeah.
can hear that without any concern about what's being said at all. Let me put that.
Natural female attitude about it too. You're asking her questions. She's like, no, let me ask you a question.
And the great thing about that EVP2 is like we were investigating Wildwood all night long, and we weren't really getting too much. We had been up on the third floor, the second floor, in the basement. That EVP was caught on the first floor as we were getting ready to leave. One of our friends we were with was just like, yeah, let's do one more EVP session before we go. We have everything packed up. Let's just do one more. And sure enough, we get that EVP, which was like unbelievably clear.
Yeah.
Right by the front porch?
Hmm?
By the front porch area?
No, we were right inside the doorway when you walk right in, right where that,
Okay.
the glass cases and everything.
Right.
Yeah, and we were like, let's do one more before we walk out the door and leave, And sure enough, we all heard it on the playback too. It was really odd. I didn't really even have to enhance it that much.
That was a good, strong EVP. Let me just play that one more time for the audience.
Yeah, it's great.
Can you see how many fingers I'm holding up? See how many fingers I'm holding up now?
That's amazing. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah, good catch. We did a lot of stuff in the basement. We did stuff upstairs. The basement was pretty active when we were there, but I was asking because there was one guy who thought stuff was happening. He slept out on the front porch, like in a hammock or whatever, or something.
Oh, brave.
Yeah. It wasn't the winter.
It was in the winter?
No,
it wasn't. Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know though. The area too is kind of like, do I want to sleep outside? But
yeah.
Props to him.
It's a really cool house, though. It's a cool looking house, and it's active.
Yes, we did a tour there just this past weekend, and we had like not so much EVP or video or anything wise, but we had a lot of personal experiences with the group. So it was a small group. There's only 5 people that came, and we were all at least one or two times. All of us saw a shadow figure in different parts of the entire house.
Wow!
Moving up and down stairs, walking through doorways, and things like that. So
wow!
The place it is great if you could, and I know you can. I believe Dan and Lori, who owns Wildwood, if you book them Hinsdale and Wildwood, because they're only a half-hour drive away. If you book them for a whole weekend, they give you a discount.
Oh.
So you could do Hinsdale one night and then Wildwood the next night. And highly recommend.
That's great information. That is fantastic to know. So appreciate that.
By the way,
2 good spots too. And they really they treat you good. That's one of the upsides to and Tony, you and Cherie are synonymous with this because you guys with Copper Canyon Research Center, when people who do investigating, who have a foundation as investigators or researchers, run or spearhead a facility, they know how it works. They know how they'd want to be treated. And so Daniel's a prime example of that. They treat the people really well. They give you the most for your money. They do deals like that. That's a good package weekend. If anybody can go up to upstate New York and do it, those are 2 really, really good spots. I would be I'd be shocked if you left both nights without getting something that was like really telling.
Yeah,
that's in New York, Hinsdale.
So that question was legit when you said where is it?
Yeah,
I thought you were kidding. Okay, well, anyway, we've all learned something tonight, and yes. Upstate New York.
Upstate New York. Hey, I'm not from here. Come on.
I really?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, upstate New York.
Okay.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you.
Yes.
Thomas, this was
phenomenal evidence.
Yeah, this is great.
Thank you. No,
was
thank you for having
fantastic.
me.
And your evidence clips were great.
Amazing.
You're doing some spectacular work, and we always like to make sure we credit people that we have on that are doing that because, you know, it's important. It's important to the field. It's important to getting evidence out there that people can witness and see. And you're doing a fantastic job. So keep it up.
And thank you so much for accepting my invites. Actually, I was like scrolling all those people who's going to, you know, say yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well,
thank you for inviting me on. Thank you.
And of course, we want to thank our entire audience. I mean, we've got people that continue to show up week after week. We thank you for that. But Anthony, Matt Haas, Josie Haas, I see some new names tonight. I see Rick Perry. I see Nathan.
Nathan's part of my team.
Okay, well, great. That's fantastic.
Carrie Hopper.
I saw Carrie in here. I saw
Jake's always with us. Volkman's
Mary Raymer.
Yep.
Who else? Entity Voices.
Kaylee Frick, I see in here. Carrie was in here. Thank you so much. Jeff Tank Collins.
Anthony Simonelli.
Yeah.
Anthony Simonelli.
Numa?
Anthony.
Numa, yeah. She actually started following us. I think after we did
Queen Mary?
No, it was
Dark
the show
Zone?
we did. Was it no?
Oh,
what are we doing?
The Dead
Ken.
Air. Dead Air.
Dead Air, yeah.
Tony.
Kaylee Frick also.
Brewski.
Yep, Tony Brewski.
Who else?
Just quite a few people in here tonight, and we really want to say thank you for that. But on that note,
this is a great Thanksgiving Eve treat for everybody.
It is.
And your evidence is amazing.
yeah,
Thank
it was
you
good stuff,
so much.
Thomas. That was really good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, you want to give our closing line?
2020 has been a really rough year, guys. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Make sure you take the time to spend it with family, no matter what anybody tells you. You never know if tomorrow's going to be here or not. And no matter what, after turkey, go out, do some investigating, and stay haunted, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Bye. Thank you.